今の大谷翔平は別次元だ。そんな言葉が全く大げさに聞こえないほど、彼は圧倒的な数字を叩き出しています。しかしその一方で、ムーキー・ベッツやウィル・スミスには不安な兆候も、首位独走のドジャースに潜む本当の課題とは何なのか、ぜひ最後までご覧ください。コメント、高評価、チャンネル登録で応援もお願いします。
Jeff, just to pop us in, big picture. As we sit here today, Dodgers 42-24, second best record in Major League Baseball. They have the best run differential in the league and a 7.5 game lead in the division because both the Diamondbacks and, as we'll get to, the Padres have been absolute dumpster fire. So if we could start with the positive news here, 7.5 game lead in the division, best run differential in baseball. It's a pretty good place to start.
Yeah, literally the only thing to complain about is that it's more fun when the Dodgers win, and they didn't do that today. But overall, big picture, yeah, it's hard to complain about much right now. There are little things we'll talk about. Not everybody is playing perfectly, and I think it's the nature of Dodger fans to worry about October all regular season. And so it's like, oh, if Mookie hits like this in October, Dodgers are going to suck. If whoever, insert name here, if Kyle Tucker, he's not going to help him win a World Series if he hits like this, and it's something I forced myself to do, to enjoy the regular season. And today was not a game to enjoy very much. We had half an inning of enjoyment where, the Dodgers rallied, scored 4 runs, pulled within 1 run. And then immediately Jonathan Hernandez said, hey, let me do something about that happiness for you. And, but ultimately, big picture wise, it's hard to ask for too much more. Yeah. I wish they had a better record than the Braves. I wish they were up by 32 games in division, but realistically, they're having a real good season.
Yeah, Clint, it wasn't all that long ago that it felt like this was a real divisional fight. As many people have joked, the Padres hung a banner for the one day that they held the National League West lead. But I'll be honest, Clint, as good as the Dodgers have been lately, I was still surprised to go and look and see a 7.5 game lead in the division. Like, the fact that this has opened up the way it has over the last 10 games or so makes days like today a little bit more easy to swallow.
And what's funny is it's not even the Padres. They're in third. The Dodgers are being chased by the Arizona Diamondbacks 7.5 games behind. And I don't know, I guess Manny Machado has too many of those darn stats that are holding him and the team back, big picture stuff like batting average. I don't know what he considers what the evil stats are that are making the team play poorly. Maybe it's just they don't have good leadership. Maybe they're just a bad baseball team. Maybe they entered last offseason, or this past offseason, I should say, without a clear direction because they were maybe going to be sold and they have all these ownership issues between the Seidler brothers and Peter Seidler's widow and all this kind of stuff. Maybe it was just kind of a bad team. I don't know that they were this bad. But man, has it been an absolute spiral, and I enjoy it a whole bunch.
Yeah.
It was really kind of funny when Joe Davis today was talking about the Padres on the broadcast, and he mentioned they were in first place less than a month ago, which is technically true. It's also making things sound not even as bad as they are. It was 20 days ago that the Padres beat the Dodgers in the first game of that series to go up by half a game. That was May 18th. By my math, I believe that's 20 days ago. And they are now 8 games back 20 days later. It's hard to lose 8.5 games in the standings in 20 days. So kudos to them. And to play Manny's advocate for a second, it might be like, I don't even know.
Hold on a second. Are you actually going to make a sincere defense of Manny Machado?
No, this is going to be a joke.
Well, no, it actually is going to be relatively sincere. I think Joe Davis today said Steven Souza is the Padres hitting coach. Could that possibly be right?
That's amazing.
I believe he's one of them.
So it might be. Manny is notoriously bad at using words to convey thoughts. He's bad at having thoughts to start with, and then he's bad at using words to convey them. He might have been saying our coaching staff, our front office is giving us hitters too much information, and it's getting into our heads. I absolutely think there are some hitters, and probably the dumber they are, the more likely this is to be true. So probably does apply to Manny Machado, that you don't want to talk to Manny Machado about the smart people stuff. You want Manny to be see ball, hit ball, use your instincts, whatever's been working for you, keep doing it. Like that should be, hey Manny, remember when you were the best hitter in baseball or one of the best hitters in baseball? do whatever you were doing then. That should be as much coaching as you give Manny Machado. So it might be that he's getting too much information from coaches who are trying to help him. Hey, you're not elevating the ball enough. And then he's thinking launch angle, and it's not helping, because I would guess probably the majority of hitters, a good hitting coach can get you to improve your launch angle without ever saying the words launch angle. Like, you as a hitter don't need to know, I'm trying to hit the ball 22 degrees. You're just thinking hard line drive. And, the coaches, the front office, they know what those numbers are and what the target is. And they can see, oh, Manny's average launch angle is 8 degrees right now. I'm making that number up. Tatis, that's probably close, and so we need to work on the launch angle, but you don't necessarily need to say those words to the hitter. You need to figure out how to get them to hit more line drives. So if Manny wasn't being just stupid, that's probably what he meant. That, it's hard to get out of a slump when you're getting too many numbers in your head. But yeah, what he said was, there's too many dang stats in baseball, and it's hard for us dummies.
I want to apologize as the host of the show that we just got a 2-minute positive Manny Machado monologue, and I feel responsible for that.
11 times in those 2 minutes. It wasn't that positive.
I feel responsible for the defense of Manny Machado that just took place. Richie, if you're watching anywhere, I want to apologize in advance, because that sounded borderline pro Manny Machado. And I don't know. I just feel like that's on me.
It's as pro as you get. I mean, I don't know how many more times I could have called him a dummy, but
Pop is a big Padres and a big Manny fan, just like Kevin Skinner is. Big Padres guy, big Cubs guy. Yeah.
We're borderline outnumbered.
Back when Manny was on the Dodgers and he said the Johnny Hustle thing, I gave him the benefit of that then too, that he just doesn't know what that phrase means when he said hustling's not my cup of tea. I mean, he's just too dumb. He doesn't know what that phrase means. What he meant was, it's not in his. He doesn't instinctively hustle. He has to force himself to. He doesn't know that not my cup of tea means I just don't like doing it, so I don't.
It's not his fault he's so incredibly dumb. He can't help it. I get it.
Yeah. If he was any smarter, he'd be as dumb as two Jr.
Steven Souza Jr. is their hitting coach. And, from what I recall, he was not very good at the hitting as a major league player. Not that necessarily means you are going to be a good or a bad hitting coach, but the last thing on the Padres, I imagine, before we move on, Speaks, it starts at the top with Craig Stammen. There was always a bad hire. That guy, the second he was going to lose that clubhouse, I don't think he was ever going to get it back. And, that is a clubhouse with Manny at the helm, with Manny as the leader of the players. That is an easy clubhouse to lose every single year.
And to be clear, when Clint says Craig Stammen was a bad hire, what he meant was Craig Stammen was a great hire. Is actually that's actually us, just like Buster Posey was a great hire, and everything the Giants are doing are fantastic. So just to clarify here, when we say
keep it up,
we
boys,
actually mean good. Yeah. On that note, let's talk about the Dodgers. They played like the Padres today. How's that for a transition? They dropped the finale. They give up 13 runs to the Angels in this one, and it was not pretty. It was just ugly all the way around. I mean, there's so many stats we could go to. I think this is the biggest one. The bottom 4 guys in the Angels lineup, which I posted on social media just to clarify, the 6 through 9 hitters on the Angels, that means these are the 4 guys that weren't good enough to be one of the top 5 hitters on the Angels lineup, and the Angels lineup stinks. So just remember that. Those 4 players were 13 for 15 today with 10 RBIs and 10 runs scored. Joe Adell went 4 for 5 with a home run, which raised his season OPS to 675. My favorite, Rivero, which I'll be honest, I've already forgotten his first name. I'll probably never... Sebastian, thank you. I'll never need it again. He went 5 for 5 today. I cannot emphasize how amazing this stat I'm about to give you is. He went 5 for 5 today, and he with a double, by the way, so 6 total bases, and that raised his season OPS to 524. He went 5 for 5 with a double and raised his season OPS to 524. He had 6 hits and 49 plate appearances coming in. He's a career 160 hitter. He had 8 career RBI coming into today. He had 6 in the game. He had hits with exit velocities of 72, 56, 73, and 84. If Sebastian Rivero going 5 for 5, raising his OPS to 524, doubling his career RBI total, if that doesn't sum up the game we watched, Clint, I'm not exactly sure how else you could tell somebody what you watched today.
Yeah, this looks like just one of those games like you don't even want to think about it. It looks like the people in the chat barely want to talk about it. As with the Dodger slight or angle in mind, this is a flusher. Every bit of a flusher here for the Angels. I'm seeing all the fans, all 2-3 of them, posting their joy. I think they have brooms because they don't know how it works, but
they swept
today. To be clear to the Angels, they swept today.
Not to mention, they outscored the Dodgers 1-0 after the first inning yesterday. I mean, they just won 1.8 games.
On fire. Absolutely on fire. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I have. This is just a game you absolutely can't ever remember again. It sucks that it goes into an off day for the Dodgers, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm not worried. I don't look at this and I'm worry about the pitching staff. Everybody just had stinkers. That's what it was, Dave didn't want to leave Emmet Sheehan out there. Emmet Sheehan didn't deserve to be left out there trying to Vesia. Vesia was 2 good umpires away, 1.5, an umpire doing their job away from escaping all of that. And maybe it's a closer game. Maybe like we were texting, the Dodgers would have a lead after they decide to put up that, 4 spot there in the 3rd, 4th inning, whatever it was, 5th inning, 6th inning. We got there. But that's not the way.
Yeah, no. It is 6-7 day today. We're gonna get there. Yeah. Real quick, we're gonna get to umpiring. I promise. Emmet Sheehan, Jeff, top of the second. He kind of cruised through the first. I believe he threw like 15 pitches in the first. Leads off the second with the strikeout. Gives up a single. Then it's a 14-pitch walk to Nick Madrigal that only happened because Kyle Tucker had a foul ball pop off his glove as he went sliding into the wall. Then there was a walk where strike 3, foul tip into the glove. Umpire didn't see it, not reviewable, ends up as a walk. Then it's a bloop single by our guy Sebastian or whatever his name is. And then having thrown 35 pitches in that inning with only 1 out, Sheehan gets pulled from this one. Off day tomorrow, so the bullpen was going to be rested. I'm curious, in real time, Jeff, did you have any issue with that decision to pull Sheehan?
I didn't. It reminded me a lot of, and maybe I was the only person this reminded of, but Caleb Ferguson's Major League debut. Do you guys remember that? I know Speaks doesn't. He doesn't remember anything.
No chance I remember that.
Do you remember that, Clint? In Pittsburgh, his Major League debut. Yeah. And it was the same thing. Got through the first inning just fine and then came out in the second inning and just threw too many pitches. He wasn't it's not like this score was way out of hand. I think he ended up giving up 4 runs in an inning and 2/3. Ferguson did. Sheehan did even better than that. But it was just a case where it's like the pitch count this inning is coming up on 40. And so it's like you're risking injury. Like pitchers need to sit down for a couple minutes and then they warm up again. And Mark Pryor came out, did a mound visit, tried to give him that break, but you're just, for the long-term health of the pitcher, you can't let a dude throw 45, 50 pitches in an inning. And especially since I think if Sheehan had 2 outs at that point, maybe they let him stay in and say, okay, just get this next out. We'll give you another batter. But no, he needs 2 more outs.
Yeah.
And so it's probably going to be at least 10 more pitches. I think it sucked but fact is they hardly had to use the bullpen yesterday and they have an off day tomorrow. So guys were available. And so they were at a point where okay, we'll see if the offense can keep us in this game and let that dictate the strategy. But yeah, I think, I didn't have any issue at all with the decision to pull Sheehan there for the sake of his health.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think oftentimes when someone sees a pitcher get pulled in the second, they're like, oh my gosh, the guy must be getting killed. And then they look up and they're like, he only gave up 2 runs. What are we doing? The 35 pitches in that inning with just 1 out is the key number. It's the 14. That's Clint. That was in person, real Clint. One note about this, and a couple people mentioned guys taking some time off. Will Smith was supposed to be in the lineup yesterday, ends up getting scratched with a neck injury, also out of the game today, out of the lineup today. Davey had said yesterday that it came out of nowhere, and then one of my favorite quotes ever for an injury, quote, I think it's a bad night's sleep or a bad pillow. Not sure. Snydog, bad pillow? Level of concern with bad pillow.
Muted.
You're muted.
He loves doing that.
That's what I do. Yeah, I can relate. That's for sure. No, yeah, it's easy to sleep wrong and wake up feeling lousy. And So I would guess that this is a case where if it was the World Series, Will Smith probably would have been in the lineup, or at least wanted to be in the lineup. They'd have to weigh his effectiveness, but I think when Dave Roberts said on Saturday before the game he'll have the day off, but he should be back in there tomorrow, I didn't see much chance he'd be in there tomorrow, meaning today, with the day off tomorrow, knowing that, oh, you could just give him both days off and he has 3 full days to recover from his poor night's sleep. I guess my level of concern would be, when did this happen? Because they're at home and it's like,
bad pillow.
I get it, you're in a hotel.
Scout Recycler just commented, like, wasn't he sleeping in his own bed?
It's fantastic.
I mean,
That's a great question.
I've reached that age in life where I take my own pillow with me on any trip because, I'm a delicate little, fragile little angel. And if there's a pee under my mattress, this princess is going to feel it. But that was a literary reference for you guys.
Don't pee on the mattress.
Somebody's got to tell me it wasn't a princess. It was actually a frog that felt the pee under her mattress.
To be clear, AP,
anyway.
he said if there's AP under his mattress. Yeah.
There's always
What
a
does the
little bit of pee in my
Associated
mattress.
Press have to do with this?
Exactly.
Anyway, so I can relate. But yeah, hopefully it is just precautionary. But ultimately, Dalton Rushing had a good game today. And so if Rushing, I mean, they're facing Paul Skeens next. Whichever guy is catching is probably going to have a bad game at the plate because that's what guys generally do against Paul Skeens. But if Dalton Rushing overall can take advantage of this little bit of time, get back on a roll, maybe they do start, doing not a platoon, but more, give Will Smith more time off to, get more neck massages or whatever.
Clint, any level of concern for you on this one, or do you need to see if he's back in the lineup on Tuesday?
Well, first, I just want to say I did. Went to Amazon Prime. I searched good pillow. There are good options. If he got himself a bad pillow, they should go and splurge and get him. There's a $300 pillow. My sweet word!
Have you searched bad pillow on Amazon? Are there options?
We're going to do this. Too? We're gonna do this right now, live. This is live. Everybody, hit that thumbs up button for this. Go
to badpillowsforcatchers.com.
There is a lot of Chinesium words available here on Amazon. So not a sponsor, but we appreciate that. This injury, I don't know if it's this specific thing, because it seems like he's had a number of nagging bumps and bruises that have really sapped him of his hitting this year. He's not the Will Smith we know and love. He's having the worst year of his career up to this point. And if we're looking at something that specifically, I'm not concerned about the neck, because you can get that sort of, like Pop was saying, they got trainers, they got massages, they got chiropractors. You can get that loosened up and ready to play. If he need to go out there and catch 18 innings tomorrow to win a game, he can go and catch 18 innings. But just overall hitting under 250, the weighted runs created plus somewhere around a league average at this moment, for being one of the more important right-handers in that lineup that also has Mookie Betts struggling, that also has, well, not a right-hander, but Kyle Tucker struggling and all that kind of stuff. If there is a biggest Dodgers concern for me right now, it's kind of Will Smith, just in the totality of his season.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that.
Specifically the neck.
Let's talk. We're gonna do a segment of stock up and stock down, and we'll save the stock up for just a moment. But if you look back at Dodgers over the last 30 days, there are a number of notable names who have not been incredibly good. Again, we're going to get to Ohtani and Freeman, who have been awesome, so stay tuned for that. But even some of the names who have been great this year, Andy Pages, over the last 30 days, a 101 weighted runs created plus. 100 is league average. Andy Pages for a month has been a league average player. Max Muncy has been awesome this season. League average player, 103 weighted runs created plus. Kyle Tucker, 104. Will Smith, 107. And that's a dramatic improvement for Will Smith over what he has been. And then, of course, Mookie Betts, 63 weighted runs created plus over the last month. That was coming into today. Obviously, a number of those guys did not play. But, Clint, if I gave you Pages, Muncy, Tucker, Smith, Betts as 5 Dodgers who, let's just say, have been varying degrees of disappointing. Obviously, Mookie Betts has been the most disappointing of that group. Is Will Smith the guy in that group that you would say maybe you have the highest level of concern about, or would it still be Mookie Betts?
It's really tough because I think Mookie's eventually going to find something. I think his right now it's a little more mental and probably some of the mechanics from, as I've said a few times, the tinkering and changing some things with the swing. With Will, if there are nagging injuries, it's really hard to just suddenly find it. If somebody had mentioned, it's an old man injury. He's on the wrong side of 30 now, being older than 30. Those type of things just kind of don't go away. And with him being a catcher now, a veteran catcher in his, what are we in, 8th, 9th season, something like that. Those are those things you worry about it affecting him over the course of the season. Now you add in the fact that Mookie is struggling, and again, you're struggling in the power and production side of the right-handed department. I didn't order that right, but still, that's where you're going to get some issues, and that's where you're also seeing the lineup, the run production kind of struggling with consistency. They put 9 points on the board in the first inning to upset people because I have been gone for a few days, so I got to call runs points. But then they didn't score after the first inning on Saturday. Hey, maybe keep it going a little bit more. But but to your question, I'm a little more worried about Will because it seems to be more health than anything else.
Jeff, if I give you that same group of people, Mookie Betts, Will Smith, Kyle Tucker, Max Muncy, Andy Pages, all 5 guys who have been essentially league average or really bad in the case of Mookie Betts hitters over the last 30 days, is there a guy in that group that you are most, if I told you one of those guys repeated and had another disappointing 30 days, who would be your first guess at who that is?
Will Smith is definitely up there. Like, my level of concern about Smith is a little lower just because I believe in Dalton rushing. And so there's a built-in solution there. So my concern is higher for Mookie Betts because if he doesn't get it going, the solution is Miguel Rojas, Hye-Sung Kim, somebody else who can't hit very well. Like, they don't have a built-in replacement there. Unless, last time we talked, somebody said there's a rumor that going around Korea that Bobby Witt Jr. is getting traded to the Dodgers. Yes, please. I wouldn't be surprised if Mookie or Smith repeated that bad month. I expect all of them to be better because I do think they're all better hitters. But Mookie, the fact that it's been as long as it's been where he sometimes hits the ball hard and has bad luck, but then also there is still a lot of pop-up in his game, a lot of weak ground out where, the consistency of the good contact isn't quite where I wish it was. Yeah. And so I think my level of concern is highest with Mookie.
Yeah, I would say Mookie as well. And I would clarify that I think there's different levels of expectations with some of these guys at this point. Like we've said, Mookie Betts, I think, is like a 115 weighted runs created plus guy, which if you're playing good defense at shortstop, I don't think is the end of the world. It's not going to live up to, MVP status that many are accustomed to. But I just think if you gave me like all these guys, I think Will Smith is going to be fine at the end of the year. That's just my prediction. I think Will Smith's going to figure it out. The next stuff, the age stuff, the catcher stuff, all that does worry me, especially coming off of the season that he had last year and how long he played and how many innings he caught in the World Series. And then he goes to the World Baseball Classic. So I do think there's some of that stuff sort of in the water there. But Pages, Muncy, we've seen them do it. Kyle Tucker is the name that I'm sure there's people like listening to this in their car after the fact, just screaming. Like, are none of these 3 idiots going to say they're most concerned about the guy who's just not been good? And that's Kyle Tucker. He's fine on the road, apparently. So I guess that's good news. Kyle Tucker, hot streak incoming as they head to Pittsburgh this week. But I think Will Smith is going to be fine. I think Mookie Betts will end up being okay. And the rest of these guys, I think, will figure it out. So that's on the downside. Let's talk about the upside because there's 2 gentlemen named Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman who have been awesome. Let's start with Ohtani. Since May 12th, he is slashing, and this was coming into today. He went 2 for 5, so these aren't going to change dramatically. But since May 12th, almost a month, 420 batting average, 515 on base, and a 741 slug. So hitting over 400, reaching base in more than 50% of his plate appearances with a 740 slugging percentage, Clint. Are you noticing any differences? Again, he goes 2 for 5 today. Do you notice anything different about Shohei Ohtani, the hitter, or...
ここまで見てくれたあなた、本当にありがとう。 この動画が少しでも面白かったら、コメントで意見を聞かせてください。そして高評価、シェア、チャンネル登録も忘れずに、次の動画でまた一緒に野球の熱狂を味わいましょう。